So today we have with us FinTwit legend, co-host of Pennies Going In Raw. And what I'm most interested in is your backstory on just like how you got into that community and looking at your pinned tweet on Twitter. And that's what I'm sure everybody comes across when they search your profile. 50,000 to $1 million in 4 months while you were sitting in calc classes is the tweet, I'm pretty sure. You got to take me back to how that all started and how you're here today and the journey.
Yeah, well, first, guys, thanks for having me on. I've seen you guys on Twitter. You guys are really starting to do something awesome. And, this is how Pennies Going In Raw started. Literally, you guys know each other on a personal level, but, just like this, just doing, things like this. So I'm really excited to be here. But yeah, going back to the background, I started trading, around 15. I had a heart condition and I was a 3-sport athlete. Realized that I probably was gonna stop in high school, no matter heart condition or not. I was definitely gonna stop in high school. You can't really be like a football player under 6 foot. So,
You come to that realization quick. I hit that same thing. I played like a year of basketball in college. And it's just like, it's time to hang it up at some point.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so, I had realized that, and the heart condition just, helped that process move along faster. But I think for me, it was, I need to find another passion. And my cousin worked at a hedge fund, and the hedge fund that he worked at was doing ARB, which means that, you take Sony in the U.S. equities at 4 p.m. You think it's going to open up higher in Japan. So you'll take it across overnight, and then you'll sell it for like a 1% gain or a 1% loser, something like that. Just do it over and over again, and it's nothing crazy. It's nothing. There's little risk most of the time. And I learned that, and I just did decide that I had wanted something more. That I wanted something a little more exhilarating. I'm sure that, I'll get to a point in my life when I don't want, not maximum risk, but maximum risk, maximum reward. And long story short, I started to, at the time I was 15, I had like 5, 6, 7 grand to my name just from working summer jobs, stuff like that. And I had found penny stocks and sub-1 billion market cap stocks, things of that nature. And I had just gotten hooked. I think the best and the worst thing that ever happened to me was my first trade. I made like 100%, like in minutes. I had bought the stock at like 330, and it had killer earnings. And this was all during like huge hype, kind of like what we're seeing right now. Stock just ripped. It was pure luck, pure complete luck. And that moment I was like, boom. And I transferred everything from my bank account into my TD account. And within like 3 months, I was wiped out. I was wiped out. I thought, I don't think I'd gotten another winning trade from that point forward until I had lost it all.
So going off of that, if you blew up an account, how many accounts have you blown up? And like, what do you do to supplement that money to, re-add to the account? Like when you're up against the wall and you got $5 to your name. Cause I think like listening to Pennies Going In Raw, you're kind of more of like you're not going to spend money on extra shit. You got to grind where you can grind and save where you can save to put stuff into hobbies like this. Like I won't buy a $10 t-shirt. Like I'm only buying $3 t-shirts type of guy. And just speak to some of that like mindset, because I'm sure you've went along that way,
Yeah, no, it's definitely funny because as of recently, in like the last 2 years, the numbers have scaled more. I've hit 1,000% gains now for I think 4 years. And when you just compound things, you start to like just see crazy numbers that you couldn't even really fathom. And so when I was starting out, I'd blown up the first account, and I was like, okay, all right, this is it. I can't do this. I'd worked like 3 years of summer jobs, and I'd blown it like that. So I picked up an additional job, and basically what it was doing was it was funneling from my job to my trading account, out of my trading account. So I had technically only blew up one account. There was another time that I tried to dabble in OTCs. And that was just a horrible experience, which is why I don't touch them. that account technically blew up off of, I just sent it all in like one trade. And I got stuck in that trade and there's no liquidity. And I was looking at it for like 2 years. It was the dumbest thing I've ever done. But anyway, from that point forward, it was just basically like my jobs were paying for my trading losses. And that's kind of how it went for like 2.5 years. And so that mentality of, I'm always here to save and I'm always here to compound comes from that. Because even right now, I mean, right now I feel like I've in the last year come to a different level because I've been able to implement more strategies and I've been able to step up scaling and size and all this. And like even now, some days, I'm dropping Ferraris, but I won't buy Lululemon. You know what I mean?
I love that mentality, man. I
Yeah.
can't handle the people that like, so I know some people that just take out student loans. Like I just graduated this year, middle of the year. So first
awesome.
semester.
Congrats, man.
Yeah. Appreciate it, dude. We both graduated from Mankato State here in Minnesota, 3.5 years.
Vinny's from Minnesota, our editor.
Really? That's crazy. It might be, we know of Vinny too, but it definitely is. No,
that's
but
awesome.
yeah,
Congrats, guys.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
So we graduated early and we both did it with no debt. So we definitely know where that comes from. But like I just look at friends, and that's kind of why I wanted to start this is like next step you as like trying to help people like understand like there is better ways to do things. Like people will take out student loans and be buying Amazon packages like 3 times, like some of like my roommates and stuff. Like it's just crazy for me, like to me to see that mentality where like you have the money. So it's like good that you're speaking to this platform. Like you have crazy money and you still won't buy Lulu right now, but you're willing to risk it to make more for like the future. You see more than just today,
Yeah,
I
no,
think
exactly.
It's a crazy point.
Yeah. And I mean, like some days I'd much rather go out and buy a Ferrari than drop, that kind of money. But, it just comes back to the mentality. And I also have the same mentality that, I want to be okay if all of this goes away tomorrow. Because there will be like, I don't know if you guys can see it, but I mean, like I have, I do not want to do this level forever. There's just no way. There's no way that I want to.
We should acknowledge that because I feel like a lot of people new to like the trading industry, like even me, I'm only maybe a year in. Like they probably see your Twitter and they don't understand like the work you're putting in. So like maybe you could speak to like the hours you're putting in and like how many hours over the years you've put in since you were 15. Like this isn't just luck. Like this isn't just gonna happen overnight,
Yeah. So hi, here in Minnesota, but no, but I mean, like I said, that 2.5 years was, looking back on it, I really just don't, I think it was just kind of like my, I'm a little stubborn, people close to me will say, and that's also gets me in trouble with trades. But, I think like that mindset that 90% of people can't do this job right now. It feels like everybody can do this, but the mentality that 90% of people can't do it, like that's like, if you can say that you're one of, you're one of that 10%, I think that was awesome to me. If I couldn't be, the person to make it to the NFL, I was like, fine, fuck it. Or, sorry.
You're good, man.
I'll be like, fine, I'll just be 10%, and the other thing that really, I was always money driven. And so that really played a part in this. I mean, before I'd really gotten into trading, I was going to be like a rich gym teacher, and there's nothing wrong, and you can totally do that. But the path to having wealth and to having, to be the top 1% is so much easier when you have no ceiling. And that's kind of what went into this. And then when I realized, holy shit, this is like no joke. Like this shit is hard, and I'm like, I am not smart. I got 2.2 GPA, I've been on academic probation for like, I don't even know how long I've been in college.
Since the day you got into the place.
Oh yeah. I mean, I went on a rant like 3 months ago about the school I go to. And I got an email back that they like changed the rule just this one time, like an exception. So they like want to get me out. Like they're like, dude, down our numbers. So, that was always the mentality that there's a way that I can do this, but I already know that I'm starting behind the 8 ball because I have terrible grammar, like just simple things that, most people can do. I just knew that I was starting behind the eight ball, which is why, I was okay for the 2.5 years. I got my parents, they were supportive. I don't know why. But I mean, it was just 2.5 years of me losing money. That's what it really came down to. 2.5 years. And then all of a sudden, I came across a strategy that started to work. And I was like, oh, all right. Like, I'm finally seeing some green, let me keep at this. And that's kind of how it started. But then, the strategy that I love is, like you guys being a student, it was impossible for me to day trade. Also, I'm a terrible day trader. Gary and, SD and some guys, they love the whole graph thing. I just like to see like the bigger picture. But going to college, it's impossible to day trade. I would leave to go to class, come back and my position be obliterated. So, or like I was trying to trade, options contracts in like the bathroom of stats class. It's impossible. Little things like that, it kind of pushed me into swing trading. And the great thing about swing trading is that you're building a position over time, but you have to know everything about the company.
So there's a couple things on this. Like I can expand on this a million ways, but for one, listen to his podcast, Pennies Going In Raw. If you're interested in getting into trading, like I'll just plug that right now because they're going to learn a hell of a lot more. Like a lot of people that are watching us won't even understand some of those words, So just hop on over there, watch some of his stuff and you'll be good to go. But I want to expand on like you saying you were still trading while you were in school. And like, I hear a lot of people like the excuse of they can't, like we're big gym advocates too, like health, fitness, and like so many excuses of, hey, I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't have time to trade. I don't have time to do this. Like, I think that just speaks to a good mindset of like, where you're saying like, I was still trying to learn while being in school. And then like, that's the entrepreneurial mindset of like, hey, my GPA is a 2.2, but it's enough to get me to the next level. Like I have the same exact like mentality of like, I'm just going to do enough to get me to the next level. And I'm going to put my energy into something like I'm passionate about. And that might be bigger in the future. Like the opportunity cost and economics behind that decision. Like that's just, I think that's something to point out. Like anybody can do it if they just put in the work. Like it's all a mindset and it's all how much like energy you're willing to give. Unless you're working 4 jobs, like 120 hours a week, like you got time to at least try to learn,
Yeah. There's 2 quotes that I really like and they go, they're pertaining to trading, but I think they can really be used in any aspect. And like the first one is, nobody was born a good trader. I love that because I think that just instills like everything. I mean, you hear, you talk about just the top guys in like the Discord, half of them have criminal records. PJ, one of my good friends, he was, he talks about it. He talked about it on our podcast that he almost got in a fist fight with the principal. Like the kid that was getting in a fist fight with the principal in like middle school is now like, he's like 12 million at this point or something this year. Like that's crazy. So, I love that one because and also, there's another quote that every trader has to be a psychopath and to some degree, maybe, that's still, out there, but, and then the next one that I really like is, oh man, I'm having brain fart. Today's been a long day.
You're good, man. I can't even imagine. You posted a screenshot that you were down like what, 1.9 mil? Is that correct?
Yeah.
You brought that back?
Close, mostly back. Yeah. And that was purely, thank God, to Tesla in the market. I was just throwing options was a lot of that, weekly options. They were moving like 200-300% intraday, but yeah, we got that back. I knew pertaining to today, I knew that, I had known that this was coming, but I had not expected a 25% gap down across.
Brutal.
Yeah. I hadn't expected that at all. And I mean, yeah, I was not ready for that. Usually, I look at different indicators and there's like different signs and stuff, but I mean, this was just complete. I mean, oh man, today was horrible.
But like that, I'm just trying to lead into the mindset again, like the mindset and how mentally tough you have to be down like 1.9 million a day. You know what I mean? And be able to stay normal. Like that's the psychopath quote you're talking about. Like There's some psychopath in there, man. That's some crazy mindset. Like that's some next level top 1% mindset for sure.
Well, it's really cool because when I didn't have a Twitter, and I was losing I lost like 20 grand one day, and I was, I was ready to like punch out like walls. But the great thing about Twitter is that, this sounds horrible, but I can look at someone else and be like, oh, that guy's down like 30 million today, like what's my 2 million? So,
Exactly.
that's the one cool thing. But then in the same token, it's like, like, hey man, like we're all getting, fucked today. So I think
Yeah.
that's really cool about Twitter. But I think also and I tweeted about this earlier, it's all about relatives. So when I had lost like 22K, that was like a third of my account, so like losing, I've come to learn like really good risk management to a certain extent. And I was a little overextended on this because of my percentages and, things of that nature. But when it comes down to risk management, and you scale correctly, you can, the numbers get bigger, but to a certain degree, the percentages versus your portfolio get smaller. And that just comes with time and experience.
Absolutely. We should move in because we could talk for days. I can already tell we could go on for like 8 hours, but we should move on to the next point. We should move on to the next point about like your current life, what you're comfortable sharing, how's college if you're in college. And then I know I've heard it, but I want you to speak to it, what your opinion is on the system, and if you have any opinions on how to change it, because obviously not one person has like the right answer. But I think it's a good discussion to be had. And that's one thing I'm super passionate about is the education system and how it needs to be changed.
Yeah, that's awesome. So actually something that I'm working on right now that I haven't really talked much about is a college reached out to me recently, and they had the same issues with the system. Their college definitely is, pertains to people who have issues with the system, whether it be grades, whether it be, and so, I can't announce it yet, but I am working with them to, start an investment competition so that, and just a personal finance, partnership so that, they understand how credit cards work and, credit versus debit, so that, I'm going to sponsor the event for the investing competition. And so they're going to take 60 students across every major. And, I'll teach them just a little bit about basics about, what you have for short-term trading or what you have for investing, because I was shocked when I went into college and, we had one chapter about options. That was it. We had didn't go into call spreads, didn't go into butterflies, didn't go into calendars, nothing like that. Just, this is what a call is. I was confused by it. I was like, oh, geez, like this, if they had named it something else, like they had called it like a spread or something, or use like an alter name, I would never know what they were talking about. And then just the investing mindset that you have to be super diverse. And I don't agree with that to a certain extent. I've always had the mentality that I'm either going to be right with this trade or I'm going to be wrong. Someone had asked me, if I create a dividend portfolio. I actually did create a dividend portfolio for my parents, but for myself, I didn't, because I believe that when I start investing in dividend stocks, that would mean that I'm giving up on this dream of just trying to reach the next level of wealth and trying to reach the next level of wealth. And to your point about the system, there's so many cursors that are just thinking inside my mind, but the fact that we go to college and the average person pays $120,000 to then go to a position that's an entry-level position to learn about the job that they'll eventually get in 5 years. You're in school for 4 minimum, if you're a doctor and stuff like that, you're in school for 4 to then go to learn about a job that you'll potentially get in 5 years. That's 10 years of upper education, if you will. You're compensated on the back end. Some might say, unequal.
You're not guaranteed to be.
You're not
That's
guaranteed.
Another thing.
Yeah, you're not guaranteed. And for me, it was like, I had paid 120 grand. I went to community college. So for the people that, I have friends that go to, bigger schools, they're coming out with $225,000 in debt, and their starting salary is $50,000. Yeah, I can do that math off the top of my head. Even if you spend nothing, it'll take you, you could spend nothing, be an Uber driver and work a third job, and it'll take you 10 years minimum to get out of that debt. So now you're starting at zero at, let's call it 32. Hell, we could call it 30. The whole, 100 years ago, by 30, you were supposed to have padded wealth. By 40, you were sitting on a massive pile of wealth. And by 50, you were done. You were going to spend that until the day that, they bury me 6 feet under. So for you to be, and then by the time you get to 30, you're buying a house. So could you imagine having student loans, a house, and, let's call it like car debt? But that's the reality for so many people. And that's why nobody gets ahead.
I mean, just that gets me fired up too, man. I love that energy. I'll reach out to you. I know a guy that's doing a pretty big scale, like, documentary trying to help fix the education system. And I think you should
that's awesome.
He would love to be involved with you. And
definitely.
The program you said you're sponsoring and stuff, like, we can't wait to see that. That's the way our society needs to move forward, honestly, with people like you heading that and trying to just help people move forward. So, like, I think of so many things off of that, like, just like I can't even imagine starting behind like that, because that's just not our mentality. So we never get behind. But, like, I see people too, like, there's just not enough education on it before we get pushed into the system. Like, I ended up going to college too, because nobody educates you on what's going to happen and how much money is going to come out of your pocket and what's the return on investment to that investment. And, like, I also see people, like, first thing they do when they get into college or move out, first thing they do when they, like, graduate, they get their first job, like $30,000-$40,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to go buy a car right off the lot for $50K. And I'm like, like, there's just so many financial decisions that people are making, not because they're dumb, but because they're just uneducated. Like, you almost attribute that to parenting and the society and the education system all in one. Like, if you're not blessed with, like, supportive people around you, or, like, a good family, like, financially, like, it's tough for you to just come out of that with no education on that topic. So, like, I just think that's a crazy point you made, like, about the $225,000 of debt. And then those are the people that are buying the brand new cars too. And they're just going to live on that their whole life and try to get out.
And they deserve, and I'm totally, like, you deserve that new car, but and it's okay to go to college. It's just, you have to understand what you're doing to yourself. And hey, listen, there are people who, want to like, for me, I'm money driven, and I want to use that money and that freedom to then be able to help people. There are people who just want to, get their degree in, let's call it like hospitality, and go work in a hotel. And that's totally okay. But, in the same token, we have to understand that if you're going to school for hospitality, and that your maximum ceiling for your first 5 years is 40,000, 50,000, why are you coming out with 200,000? And it's not their fault. It's just the lack of education, like you said.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, there's definitely a need for school and, like, the education system. I feel like it needs to be majorly restructured, and then education needs to be taught at a smaller or younger level of, like, where people are going and what industry you're going into and what's the average return on investment of your degree. Because, like, obviously doctors, people need school. Like, the school system has its place, and it's not all bad. But I think, like, for some majors, like even mine, like business, I own my own small company, like landscaping and lakeweed removal. And I didn't learn anything in my degree, and I went for entrepreneurship and business management that has helped me in my endeavors. Like, I'm learning everything from YouTube, LinkedIn learning, people I'm reaching out to. Like, it's all about who you know, and, like, the education that they're willing to provide, like people that have already done that or been there. Like, it's crazy how some of the majors are structured and how much you pay for that major, and nobody told you anything about that before you went into that major.
Yeah, so true, man. So true.
We can move on from that, because that's just kind of a sad topic, honestly. But I knew you're passionate about it because I heard your rant on Pennies Going In Raw, and I wanted to bring it up.
Oh yeah, but no, I could go into it any day of the week.
We can move from that to Pennies Going In Raw. Can you like give us an overview of what that is, what you guys are trying to do with that, how you and Dan met, how you guys got that started? We had Dan on, and he actually mentioned, I probably shouldn't bring this back up because we'll go right back into education, but that there should be a class where people paper trade. Like, that's genius.
Okay. Well, so
because then it's fake money, so you might get a little yeah.
Oh yeah. That's my biggest issue. Like, I feel like you really gotta feel it before. Like, you really gotta feel it. Like, I did the same shit. Like, I did the same thing with the paper trading. And then, I mean, after I had blown up the first account, and I was just, I had like my paper trading account and then my real account, and that, which, by the way, PDT I think is a fantastic rule. Hot topic. I know, but for me, I think it's fantastic. I think everybody, not only just earning 25,000, I don't think there should be a threshold, but I think there should be like a 2-month trial to where you have restrictions, and that's not necessarily a threshold of money, but I think that there should be a 2-month, because right now we're seeing stupid stuff, and everybody's following Zach Morris, everybody's following Hugh, Henne, but when we get into a low volume market and people are chasing things, they're just going to get slaughtered, and that's and it's not necessarily like like in that 2 months you're going to learn how to trade, but at least learn how to buy and sell on your broker. I mean, there's so many people that don't even know, what, we have VWAP, but then you have TWAP, which over a time period sells a certain amount of shares, like every 30 minutes, stuff like that. People don't even know. Like 90% of people probably will listen to that and be like, what? Like, no way. So, that, I know that's a hot take. I know I took it off the corner there, but I do think that there should be some kind of like 2-month trial or 2-month restriction.
It's good to have different opinions, man. That's all I have to say. It's good to conversate about different opinions, no matter if you believe in it. I mean, if I agree, if anybody else agrees, it's good to have opinions. But let's move back to Pennies Going In Raw. Give us a little overview of what that is, what you guys are doing with it, and how you and Dan brought it to what it is now.
Yeah, so Pennies Going In Raw now has really transitioned from, we like to really teach about, different trading styles and just overall, somewhere where people can come to the market and not spend a fortune on Tim Sykes, or not spending a fortune on Raging Bull, because the barrier to entry is so steep. And even though all this information is out there, you're not going to, there's like the 400,000 different YouTube hits for how to trade. And you're not going to know like who to trust and everything like that. So, and when we had looked on the podcast, I mean, there was like, if they're watching this, but the competition was, so, we really felt like this was like a need, or, that this could be a need, and somewhere where, you can quickly listen to this inside the car, inside the gym, YouTube, you have to, it has to be video. And there's some instances where, we do wish that we had video, but right now you can listen anywhere and anytime, and you can close your phone, which, I think with YouTube Premium you can. But my point being is that we really felt like there was no real one place to find all of this and just listen. We feel like we're pretty relatable. Most of the time you're going to listen to people who are saying, to diversify. And I remember, when I was starting, I was like I'm not throwing 1% of my account at something to make 2%. That took me forever to be a billionaire. So, I wasn't doing that. Like, I clicked through all of that, so I think that, like, we wanted to be real. We wanted to, we want to, show that this is something that you can do, for the longevity, but, real guys that are coming together to try and create a community or bring a community together, because Twitter, there's so much information, but it's all over the place. So that's what we wanted to start. And I mean, that's not how it started. How it started was Dan had blown up my messages. I mean, at this time, I didn't have that many followers, but holy hell, this Dippity Dan. I mean, I was getting, like, at that time I had my notifications on, like, my phone and my computer. Now I can't, but and it was like, hey man, like, yo, you still like this? And I was like, dude, like, what do you want? And then, And then the one thing that like he caught my eye that I'd answered was, he was like, my name's Dan. You know, like I live in Alabama, and he put like, I know, you know, my cousin, you know, like something funny like that. And then he had said something like fun fact about me, like my biggest achievement is airballing a halftime free throw at Auburn's basketball game, like something like that. And I was like,
He's a funny
fuck.
dude, man.
Yeah. And I was like, all right, fuck. Like let me answer him. And they sent me a picture, and I was like, all right. And then like one thing led to another, and then like, you know, we started talking in Atlas and stuff like that. And then and he literally like one Saturday morning just goes, yo, like you want to start a podcast? I'm like, yeah, sure. And like next Sunday, I'm literally with my AirPods and like Anchor or something. We're like starting a podcast, and that was in July. So you know, fast forward, you know, we started to take it a little more seriously, kind of, you know, that loosely kind of, you know, we still kind of do what we want whenever, but you know, it has a little more structure to it, and it's really just, you know, blown up from there. We've had massive growth inside the last month. We've gotten, you know, half of our all-time listeners have come inside the last month. So the growth has just been astronomical. People are finding us that, you know, we were trending on education. You know, I don't know what we're teaching, but you know, Dan and I, neither of us have our degrees. And I'm working on it, but neither of us have our degrees. You know, Spotify messed that one up. But that being said, you know, we like find ourselves. You know, you type in like Pennies Going In Raw like 6 months ago, and it was just, you know, like something else came up. Now it's just like tons of articles and stuff. So it's just, the growth has been massive, and that's, you know, I think that you guys can get to a point to where, you know, because once you hit like for us, it was like once we hit that certain level, it just went off on
Took off the tipping point. Absolutely. I think that's so cool to see too. Like I started listening because of Bjorn. Like that's who I had on when we interviewed Dan, because he introduced me to Dan. And I started listening way back when it started too. And it's just crazy to see like the growth over time. Yeah. I think your guys' intro, I just have to say, this is like one of the best things ever. That video of you when you got your wisdom teeth out, right? That is hilarious, bro.
Yeah.
That is a great intro. That's where we need a little bit of help. We need you need to connect me to this Vinny guy. He lives in Minnesota.
Vinny he lives in DC now, but I'll tell you what, Vinny is the saving grace of PGIR. You know, I mean, I have some microphone issues because the ceilings in here are massive, and even inside my closet, which is where I record, the ceiling is still like 11 feet tall. So you know, I mean, Vinny really works his magic. He's incredible. He made that intro, and it hasn't changed. It hasn't changed at all. You know, he just came out with that, and I was, whoa, like where'd this come from? You know, if we didn't have Vinny, we'd probably still be like, I don't even know. Like, the podcast would probably be dissolved by now. You know, and then we got Christian now, and he's incredible. I mean, like, you know, he just every day he sends me like, yo, do you remember saying this? Like that was spot on. I was like, whoa. I was like, thanks, man. You know, like got like all these cool edits and stuff. And I'm like, you know, I'm just trying to like circle filings and stuff with like my iPhone, and he's like doing all this fancy stuff.
That's where we're at. And that's why this has been such a damn journey trying to just get a couple out. But I mean, we're on our way, and we'll keep going. We're actually thinking about living out of a van for a year and interviewing people out of a van for a podcast. Yeah, we're thinking about it. We love traveling. We like national parks and hiking and stuff. So that's an idea, because we just graduated, so we're kind of free to do whatever we want.
Yeah, definitely. Why not?
I'm curious what your degree is in.
Yeah, it's finance.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
We can move into hobbies outside of trading that you're open to sharing. If you have any, I mean, I'm sure you're putting in like 20-hour days. So I don't even know if you have any at this point, but is there anything you're passionate about outside of trading, or what?
Podcasting.
I'm trying to like
trading, Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to like.
Twitter.
I mean, I definitely have them. Like, don't make me look like I'm like, you know, like a loser or something. I don't know. I don't know. I like taking walks.
That's good.
Yeah, I used to be big into reading in high school, but you know, high school reading ruined that for me. Like some of the books I had to read, you know, at the same time I was like reading like 2 books, and I was like, like the Odyssey was like in my murder mystery. So, it's things like it just ruined my, just ruined my experience for reading. No, I definitely I really like sports still. But when it comes down to it, a lot of people, the question that I get probably one of the most is, do you see yourself ever getting burnout? And I think it comes down to, there are times where this just this game sucks. Like there's times where like this morning at 5 a.m. I'm looking at my portfolio and I just throw my phone. I'm like, this is like I should just go be a gym teacher. Like this is not worth the headache, But when it comes down to it, there's people who do this job just to make money, and that's fantastic. I'm sure you guys, it sounds like you guys love the gym and love traveling. How passionate are you guys about trading, or is it more of gives you the freedom?
That's more of it gives us the freedom, honestly, for me. I've been struggling to travel so much, holding a normal job, and then with my own business, it's like a service business. So I have to be on the ground, putting in 10-hour manual labor days, which I don't have a problem with either. I love working, but it's just the freedom of trading is definitely something that's massively attractive to me and why I got started. Yeah. And it's starting to become a little bit more of a passion for me too. So it's kind of transitioning, but.
And mine's just a little hobby.
Just a little hobby? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I get that too. And that's the thing is that there's so many people that use it as a vehicle for freedom. And I think that is awesome. I don't really agree with the, do what you love forever. I think for me, I would rather trade for 5-10 years, build up, a nice little nugget, and then, do whatever I want after that. I still think that you can still find a passion. And if you can't find a passion, fine, put your head down, put your head down for 5 years. And then, you have more than enough time and freedom, once you're done trading or, you do passive investing, stuff like that. But for me, getting back to your question, I just love trading. I love waking up every morning and just, going to the office. And for me, that's really where I think, where the success comes from. It just because, this is this past year, I have no words to describe it. I mean, I can't even fathom it. And to be honest, I'm really, this could have been such better 12 months, but I can't look at something like BNGO. I look at this thing and I thought it was a piece of shit at 200.
I had that at 50 cents too. Yeah.
I thought it was a piece of shit at 50 cents. And now it's trading up past $10. I'm like, I can't buy this fucking thing. So, I mean, this could have been such a better 12 months personally, in my opinion, but yeah, we get it. You're big, Logan, dude.
Hey.
I love it. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, in my perspective, this is just craziness at this point. And I think that it's an awesome vehicle. And for me, it's I love just waking up in the morning and going to the desk, turn on them. I actually never turn off my monitors, but it's a superstition thing. But I think for me, it's just I love every single day. Saturdays I'm walking around here that little meme.
What do I do?
Yeah, exactly. So but I do love traveling. I was supposed to go to Egypt. That got canceled, so I'll be going in August again. But even still, when I travel, I'm pissed. I'm I'll get a text from a friend, be like, I had Tesla calls in the summer, and then frequently I used to trade Tesla until I took pretty sizable hit on one. But I was going to Shenandoah and I cut the calls because I was like, man, I don't want to deal with this. I had way too much risk. I was overloaded, blah blah. They would have been worth 10 million. I was like, that would have been my quarter. So that ruined I'm at the top of Shenandoah, the very tip of the top. Yeah. And so, even when I love to travel, but the opportunity cost for me just
isn't there yet.
Oh, it kills me. It kills me. And I'm not at the point to where I'm so anal about everything that I have to be watching everything at all times.
That's hilarious. You should quickly give a little rundown on a Roth IRA for people that are watching our podcast that haven't watched yours, because obviously you're the guy for that, and you're the proponent for advocating that you should have one. So if you just want to give a simple overview, you don't have to go super in depth for our followers, but we just send them right over to you. Send them right over to your podcast if they want to learn more.
Yeah. No. So, the Roth IRA, I think is such it's, oh my God, I don't even have a word for it. I think it's like the coveted financial tool. And you know, some people disagree with me. You know, we had Doug Boneparth on, and he likes HSAs, and there's so many different great vehicles. But for me, for the masses, I love the Roth IRA. You know, I'm always a big fan of, if you don't see it, you won't spend it. So if you just contribute to your Roth without seeing it, then you won't miss that $200 a month. You know, and the other thing, and when you think about it this way, okay, the government puts a cap on it. The government doesn't put a cap on it because it's not a deal to them, you know?
Yeah.
And I think like when I said it out loud, people are like, oh, okay. You know, like the government doesn't want you to be able to do it unlimited. So when you think about it that way, you know, Mitt Romney, I talk about him a few times. His Roth IRA is worth $150 million. Okay. If he had that Roth IRA inside a traditional, now again, your marginal tax rate will change in retirement and other things like this. But let's just say that he was getting taxed at 30%. If he had inside a traditional IRA, he would have to give the government 50 million of that 150 million. With the Roth IRA, he keeps it all. I mean, shit, like I'll take 50 million. And like the numbers can get so stupid. You know, like you're literally just changing accounts. Instead of putting inside a traditional, you put inside your Roth. You know, and I think especially for people like us, which is who most of my demographic is, and when I'm talking about the masses, I'm talking about, you know, the demographic that follows me. I mean, we have, you know, I'm 22. How old are you guys? 22, 23?
21.
21.
That's right. You guys graduate early.
Almost 22.
Yeah, my birthday is February 27th.
Whoa.
Hers is March 1st.
Oh
Yep.
my God. Wow, you guys really just do everything together, huh?
I guess.
You graduate. Okay. All right. Travel. All right. Cool. But yeah, so I mean, you know, we have 40 plus years to contribute, you know, and build that up. And if you can create somewhat of a strategy, even if you just threw it into like an index, like that's one of like the fight backs that I get, is that like, well, I don't know how to trade. That's fine. Put inside an index, because if you're making 7% a year and it's just compounding and you're adding to it, like it'll be like $2 million, and that's $2 million tax free for just doing something for 40 years, you know?
And isn't it important to like start it when you're younger?
Oh, yeah.
Because a lot of people will say like, oh, I'll put it off. I'll start it when
Yeah.
I'm 30. But isn't it like super important to start it when you're young?
Yeah, exactly. There's CNBC put out a thing, and I'm totally going to butcher this because I just butcher like everything. But, you know, they put out a report that there was someone like Johnny who started contributing at 22, and he only contributed $100. And like Joanne started contributing at like 34, and she was contributing like $600. And by the time they were both 60, he had significantly more, just because the rule of compounding. Or if you guys think about it, you know, there's that story about you know, some peasant did something for the king, and the king said, what do you want? And he said, you know, give me one piece of rice per chessboard or something, or like one piece of rice and then two pieces of rice and three, you know, and then by the time he had gotten all of the rice out of the, you know what, fuck it. I don't even, you know, like I said, I'm picturing it.
But look up the reference if you really want to know it.
Yeah, I'm butchering it, but my point to it, I'm totally, like I said, I'm butchering it. You know, if you guys listen to the podcast, I most of the time I'm getting them backwards. You know, not only am I butchering it, but I'm getting it backwards. But my point to this is that compounding is just crazy, and you don't need to know how to trade. Put it with Vanguard. Vanguard does a great thing. It's like 11 cents to like use Vanguard. And you could just use it for 40 years and just contribute to it, And you can even do like a target date fund. So Vanguard will move the different investments around based on the target date, so that when you get older, or, you know, like once we're like 40 or whatever, within like 20 years, you know, they'll start to de-risk, which is really cool. And it's like, you pay like nothing for it. So I think like that's awesome. You know, you compound, you know, it's just, I can't say enough good things.
And it automatically comes out of your account too. You can set it up that way, so you don't, like you said, you don't have to see it. You don't have to look at it. It just automatically does it.
Exactly. There's a statistic out there that like people our age spend 2 times as more on coffee in 2018 than
Me.
investing. Yeah. Oh my. Do you like Starbucks or or is it
I
just
do.
coffee?
It's
That's,
all coffee,
do you
mostly
get like a
Starbucks.
$6 coffee or like a $2 coffee?
Like a $5 coffee.
Oh man.
I'm trying to cut it down. I'm trying. Yeah.
You can go at
I'm
her.
happy.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say.
I'm trying. I know it's a problem.
Like, do you know how much you spend how often do you get that coffee?
It used to be daily until I calculated how much I was spending a month, and I was like, yeah, that needs to be cut down. So now I try to do like 2 to 3 times a week.
I don't really think that, that's fine. But it just goes back to like the saying, like there's someone, like I used to work with someone and they used to make $12 an hour. Okay. Let's say after tax, they take home $10 an hour, which, that's still conservative, but that's fine. They would sit inside their car at the job and run the heat. And I was like, yeah, like, do you know how much like your heat is like per hour or something? She was like, probably like $2 or $3. Like, okay. So now you just cut your take home by 30%. And I'm like, do you feel like you get paid like, pretty well? And she's like, no, it's dog shit. And I was like, no, that dog shit, you just cut in a third. And I'm like, what do you cause I know, I knew that she did. I was like, do you stop on the way here at Walla? And she was like, yeah. Like, how much do you spend every night? And she was like, like $4 or $5. I'm like, okay, so now you're about to be paying your job to work there because you're just pissing money out. Oh man, I could go into this all day, but yes, I have so many issues like that, like the little things, just like I said, like Lululemon, like, my girlfriend, she has 10,000 Sephora points. I was like, what are these points? Like, what are these is this like point for point? Like, that would just be,
probably not.
Probably.
It's probably a point for $10.
Our first date, we went into Sephora and I was like, trying to be all slick and I paid for it. I look back and I was $60. I was like, it was like this big. I was like, well, we're not going back there. Like, this is ridiculous. I'll tell you. Oh man, I'll tell you what. This has been fun, guys.
Absolutely. You got to hop off now or what?
No.
I was just keep going. All right. I didn't know if you had to hop off. I know you're busy. I can't even imagine. How about your phone, man? How is the notifications? Like, how do you even see stuff that is important? Like, I appreciate you coming on the podcast with us. Like, this is just great for us. But how do you even find, like, how did you even find me or my DM? Like, how do you even see people's crap? Because like you tweeted at me, I got like 40 notifications. I'm like, I can't even imagine like what your phone is looking like. How is that even manageable?
It's really that. It gets like to a point where like, I don't even know, like the queen could tweet at me and it wouldn't even like I'm just hoping that I see it. Yeah. Oh yeah. Like easily. I mean, I've had like, let me see, like, there's some big people that follow, some of us. And I mean, like the one guy was like he was a ex-football player. He played on the New England Patriots last year. He was like, oh man, like I could have gotten you playoff tickets. I was like, sick, man. Like come see, how many different DMs, you know what I mean? Like he was like, I can't believe you didn't answer me. And I was like, listen, like, like no offense, but like, you'd be like Queen of England. I probably yeah, I still wouldn't answer, you know what I mean? Like, but you guys, and yesterday I'd done something with another young guy and, I want to, because we were all, I remember when Pennies Going In Raw was getting like, I don't even know, like 200 views and we didn't, there was no one that really, we had reached out to like multiple guests and for starters, like Fisker, the CEO of Fisker, he had replied to us saying that he would come on Pennies Going In Raw. It never followed. We had followed up like 5 times and he like basically just didn't answer. It's a shitty feeling. And that's why I felt bad because, for anyone watching, we had this planned and I mean, it was one of those things where, it is important to me, but,
somebody proceeded. It's all good, man.
Dude, the chiropractor I go like 3 times a week. I've missed twice. I don't even know, like, I thought it was Tuesday. Or wait, is today Tuesday? Yeah. I thought yesterday was
You miss it
Tuesday.
again or what?
Yeah, I had a like, there's this thing called peer mentor. I had a meeting right before this. And the lady that runs the text me, she was like, "Hey, like, you coming?" I was like, "Oh man." I was like, this is just, so eventually I'll figure out a system, but for right now it's like, I try and go back and look at as many things, but I mean, a lot of things are the same questions, and that's the whole point that, like, we started Pennies Going In Raw, is like, like, hey man, like, why don't you give me price targets? Well, one, because I'm not your mother, and two, I create Pennies and Going In Raw so that you could
Figure them out
create
yourself.
your own. Yeah, like dude, like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like,
Yeah, I get that for sure. You into sports trading cards at all? You follow Gary Vee? You said you like sports and you like investing. So is that something you're trying to diversify in a little bit just for fun, like as a hobby? Like, those are so hot right now. You into that at all?
I'm not, because I don't know the market. Like, I think if I knew the market, and I think, like, right now, I think right now it would be too difficult for me to get into that market.
Yeah.
But if I could get into that market, I would, and it didn't take me, but with something like that, it would take me probably 6 to 8 months till I felt confident, just watching the market and stuff
Studying.
like, yeah, watching, I mean, like, watching the actual market, watching the market, to see, supply versus demand, and like, how things trade, different things, like who the big fish are. I always like to know, like, whose thumb is pressing down on the market that I'm in, whether it be like, like, I live like near Jersey City, like, who the big developer is that's, trying to build 3 different buildings and stuff, like, who has the thumb down on it. And that would take me a long time. I eventually, I will diversify into, more like real estate, or, I do want to get like a Ferrari one of these days, not just piss them away in trading.
Absolutely.
I'm curious, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
Oh man, that's a really good question. That's really something that I've thought about a lot, but like, it's always been like, it's always been like, let me put it this way. At 15, I thought I'd be a billionaire by now. So I've realized that I always say, like, I'm going to be somewhere, and then it's grossly miscalculated. So, when I've thought about it, I think the dream would be, Jim Cramer, I think, has it made, because I just love talking stocks. I think, the dream would be to trade till like 4, so let's call it like 4 to 4, get ready for an hour, and then, go on TV. I don't know how much of a personal, a life outside of trading I would have. So I don't know if the longevity is there, but that would be really, really cool. Ideally, $1 billion status would be cool, but I am a far, far away from that. A far.
If you think about it though, that's like the 10x mentality, like the Grant Cardone thinking. Like,
Yeah.
you thought you'd be a billionaire, but now look at how high up you are compared to when you were at 15. Like, if you were to look back, like, would you be appreciative of that? Like, you shot for like $1 billion, but you got plenty. You know what I mean? But you got to just keep moving forward. And you got to keep thinking big, because that mindset brings, that mindset and that mentality is everything.
No, definitely. No. And that's, you bring up a good point, is that even though, like, I'm joking around, definitely, I mean, I think one of the best things was, like, thinking I'd be like, at 3, thinking I'd be in the NFL, having like the bigger picture, has always for sure helped me, whether it be like, I wanted to be like $1 billion, like, gym teacher. I didn't know how I was going to get there, but that was always like the mentality. Or like, I used to work at a sports bar, and I was like, I'm going to drive a Lamborghini here. And I was like, I make like $50 a night. Like, I'm not, it would take a lot of good nights,
Oh, that's
absolutely. Funny. I got to tell you about this thing, NBA Top Shot. I want to interview one of them, and I've been reaching out a little bit, but this might help just because it'll receive more attention, So it's like on blockchain technology, and they partner with the NBA, and a lot of NBA players have been getting into it like in the last week, where they have like online trading cards that are on the blockchain, and they're crazy, dude. The market is insane. I think Yates said something about it a while back too.
Mhm.
And there's just been like crazy hype around it. I want to interview somebody, like, because I was thinking, I'm not a computer guy, but I was thinking like blockchain might be the future. Like, not saying Bitcoin is, but like the technology behind it, and like the public open ledger type of thing. So I was trying to figure out how to like apply that and be like one of the first people that starts like one of those companies, because it's just the beginning of that revolution. And I just
Yeah.
thought it was crazy cool. Like, let me just give you an example. I got lucky and won a raffle for a $15 pack and pulled like a $300 card out of it. I was like,
That's
oh,
awesome.
that's great. And I'm going to keep 4 of them forever and then see where it is down the road. But like,
Yeah.
there's just so much technology that's just crazy. Like how many people are pushing the envelope forward.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. I think that's really cool. And, I mean, even like Bitcoin, I mean, like how far that's come. Like, yeah, I wish I did, I'd known about Bitcoin, like let's call it like 2011, 2012. But I mean, I'd seen like the tweet that went viral. Like some guy was complaining that, it was a tweet that he had tweeted in 2011 saying like, oh man, like I should have held my Bitcoin that I bought at 30 cents because now it's trading at $8. It'd be worth like over 100 million now, like his original $1,200 investment. I mean, so, I mean, that's really cool. And I think like the innovation is just crazy. It's just so crazy.
It is so crazy. Do you have anything else, Summer? Any questions? We
Um,
wrapped up all the talking points.
What is your definition of success?
Ooh, like my personal or like the masses?
Like your personal. Is it just money success, or is there a bigger picture to it?
No. Senior year, I definitely want to right now. One of the biggest things is that like you'll see from I think myself and Zach and PJ is that one of the biggest things is that we've all in some point of our life have had a huge downturn, whether it be financially, health. PJ's health and my health is similar. Zach was working construction, making like $150 a day at one point. So I think like one of our biggest things is that like, we always try and get back. And right now that's financially. But one thing that I'm super passionate about is one, adoption, and two is I used to work for a special needs program. In senior year of high school, I was a co-teacher, and just being able to see like what happens after, there's always after high school, there's always after high school programs that some students can go into, but after that, it's kind of like do what you can. And I think that'd be really cool. Like, I've always envisioned like opening up like a campus, something really cool where like, they can come and, kind of never leave like that repetition mindset, where they wake up, they're with their friends and, whether it be like college forever, something like that. But they go to class and where they learn like fundamental skills and motor skills. And then they go to work and they're, like knitting or, whatever they want to do, they want to wash, a billion cars and we'll open up a car wash, something like that. And I think that that's like, my definition of success, I definitely have a number, and I've talked about it a few times, but, I think like a billion would be a billion, I wouldn't say like, cause like I said, I'm not doing this level forever, but a billion and I'd be like, sick. Like I've made it. But I think as far as like my life goes, success, I think it'd be, leaving this world or, feeling like I've done so much more than what I've taken. I've taken my fair share. I'm down right now, but I think that would definitely be success.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a great definition of success, honestly. Like that's what even me, like I felt like I was focusing on money in the short term. That's like why I wanted to start this. Like, even if I'm helping one person, just giving some advice or some little piece that helps somebody, like that's where I feel like there's people in this world that are not like that. And that's probably the masses, probably 95% of this world, honestly. But
Mhm.
like that is a great definition of success. And I think we can honestly end it on that.
Mhm.
Nothing better
Yeah.
than that, dude. Appreciate
Oh,
you
yeah.
coming on, and I appreciate you fitting me into that busy schedule.